So is it safe to say that you are the inventor of the one-step liquid for compounding and polishing? Is that a safe thing to say?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
we definitely didn't know what we were getting into when we did it. And I didn't do it for business. I did it for my body shop. It had no intention of getting into this business.
So let's start there. Let's
Okay.
start kind of at your foundation, kind of your background, and that'll help set the tone for uh, everything we're going to talk about. I'm so excited I have so many questions, and I'm so excited for this episode
Thank
because
you,
you've been around for
Jimbo.
so long, and you're just a wealth of knowledge. So I'm excited to dive into all that. But so we can understand all that later as we talk. What is your background? Where did you start? How did all this start?
So my dad had a body shop as a boy. And I definitely don't think that, I got up one day and said, I want to work in the body shop. No, I wanted money, I wanted money to work on my mini bike or my dirt bike or something. And, my dad said, well, come down to the shop. You can clean the toilets or, sweep the floor or do something like that. And okay, so I'm there and I had a paper out, and this obviously would be more money than my paper out. So then, 10, 11, 12, I'm working as much as I can, after school, weekends, all that stuff. And about, 15, I'm decent at the trade now. And I start
By 15 you were?
Yeah, by 15. Okay. I restored my first car when I was 15, pulled the motor out, do all the body work. And then I did another car before I graduated high school. And then when I graduated high school, I jumped on we all bought brand new motorcycles that year. And I drove from Ohio to California, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I don't think I ever saw a Porsche in my life before I drove to California. And I told my dad, oh my gosh, there's so many cool cars out there. So that year I would pack everything up and move to California at 18 years old. And by 20 years old, I started my first body shop. And it was all done after that.
So what was it like in the body shop for you in those like really formative years at your dad's body shop? Was it just, so my dad owns his own business, and I remember it was like a t-shirt and candy shop, and then it was like a mail center, and it just kind of it's almost fun interacting with people or like trying to learn new things. Was it fun for you? Was it, what was that like?
I mean, it was a business. My dad was never anybody who like, come here, son, I want to show you the road. No, it was never like that. It was
tough love.
It was my dad yelling and screaming at the guys. And, and I remember taking the brunt of that, and I don't believe I deserved it, but, that's my dad under pressure and, dealing with customers. And it was really cool. And it's neat that you had a dad that, you got raised under to do this too, because I think it helps us, to have that foundation.
I couldn't agree more. Everything from customer service to, even I remember simple things like, running the till and making change and knowing how to troubleshoot the receipt printer and, credit card, when it used to be like, you used to have to do like a carbon copy of the credit cards.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
All those things. I think it's like very, very like stupid things sometimes, but it's amazing how useful those like stupid things are,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so neat. I made so many stupid mistakes working for my dad. And
do you remember like your first biggest mistake or mistake that I just,
oh my God.
Said you took the brunt of it. Like what was one of those?
It was brutal. And I mean, I've actually had a body shop. I still have a body shop since I was 20 years old. And I've fired a lot of people, and I some of them I regret. But I look back at what my dad put up with me, and he didn't fire me. Where would I go anyway? I was a kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was he even paying you? Like, do you have to pay someone to fire them?
I never thought I was making enough, but at the end of the day, I always had money to play with, you know, he didn't make me pay for anything at the house, and had all kinds of toys and motorcycles and snowmobiles and all that. So I'm from Ohio, northeastern Ohio, so it was fun to grow up. But biggest mistake, this is a doozy. My dad tells my brother Paul and I, he's 1 year younger, I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and he says, you boys come in and prep this vehicle. I think it was a Maverick, Ford Maverick. And years probably 1975. He says, you guys come in and prep this vehicle, and I'll give you, you know, I don't know, $100 or something. Get it all taped up, and then I'll paint it. And then I'm going to flip this car. Okay, cool. So I had some experience in the shop. My brother didn't have as much, but I don't know whose fault this was. It was probably both of ours. We start to DA sand this car all down. DA, buzz it all down, get it all ready, tape it all up, blow it off, put it in the booth. Okay, Dad, it's ready. So my dad goes in and paints it. Now, my brother and I are at school on Monday, and my dad untapes this car, and we sanded all the edges of all the windows on the car, the windshield, the back glass, the door glass. Oh my gosh.
Whoops.
My dad has to replace all the windows on this cheap paint job.
Oh, so much for the flip, huh?
Oh my God, my dad was so mad. And my dad was a bruiser, man. My dad was a big, big guy. Oh, he was mad. He was so mad. But you know, he put up with
lesson learned, huh?
Yeah.
At least it wasn't a customer's car, maybe. Like if you're looking for the like the bright side of there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you at 20 years old, or at 18, you come out to California for the first time. You experience what we all still experience of just like the
awesome,
just the insane landscape that California is, and really the diversity in landscape that I don't think is replicated really anywhere. Anyway, so you decide California is the place to be. 20 years old, you move out here, and what else? You're going to start a body shop, right?
Yeah, it and I, you know, I never got up and said I want to start a body shop. No, why would I want to do that? And I never thought about just focusing on restoration, and that's the direction it would go. And you look at all the moving pieces that, and I tell everybody, I said, you just have to have drive. That's it. Right. You just put your foot. What do you want to do? Well, I want to make money. So I knew I was decent at the trade. I'd worked in commission at 18 years old, and at 18 years old, I'm working in every shop here in Southern California. And I tell the owner, I said, if you can't keep me busy, I'm quitting, because it's straight commission.
Got it. So you moved out you did end up moving out here at 18 and then worked for other body shops.
I worked for seven or 8 body shops that first year.
What is the land, not to cut you off from your story, but what is the, I don't know much about the body shop industry at all. I know insurance is involved, and anytime insurance is involved, that becomes an interesting game too. But back then, and we can talk about current times, but back then, what is the landscape of the body shop industry? Is it a growing industry? Is it a profitable industry? Is it okay?
It's I mean, as I grew up in the body shop, I mean, my dad supported 6 kids, and you know, we had all the toys, and it was a tiny body shop, but it was well known, did good work, all that stuff. Always had business. But today, I mean, I'm in lots of big body shops: Caliber, Gerber, Crash Champion, and you know, my job is to get our products in there. These body shops, I mean, I have been in body shops. They deliver 35 cars a day. They deliver. They got 150 employees. It is Walmart on Christmas Eve. I mean, constant. I mean, it is an awesome business, and it takes a lot of money to get into this business now.
Okay.
Big money, and you make big money if you do it right. Yeah, you make.
And Caliber, because we're both in Southern California now, Caliber kind of has bought up a lot of these smaller, and I think Crash Champions is kind of doing the same. Like, are they buying up a lot of these mom and pop body shops?
I think that's their job, is, you know, to buy up reputable body shops and then turn them into machines that they know how to turn them into. I think Caliber's got 1,500 body shops under their umbrella.
Jeez.
So they have buying power, and the
Okay.
whole thing just becomes an entity, and
Mhm.
it's awesome. I mean, they do great work. The work is really, really nice. All these big shops, you can't really be in business today without
Mhm.
doing good work. You got
Oh,
way too much people checking your work.
got it. I was gonna say, is it easier to do better work now? Because from the detailing, I just had a body shop work on my car, and luckily it turned out good because I happened to know the owner.
Oh, good.
Other than there was a bunch of clear coat overspray on the opposite side of the car.
Oh, wow.
But I will say, which I was a little disappointed in, but I will say, like, I look for color, texture,
Yeah,
and panel gaps. Those are like my big three, right?
yeah,
Which they
yeah.
nailed. So the
Good.
clear coat overspray I could deal with. A little frustrating because it's like, why didn't you just throw some plastic? But anyway, here nor there. Um, gosh, that went down a rabbit hole, and then I forgot what my question was going to be. So, is it harder to do um bad work nowadays if you're an established shop with money backing you? Because I would assume there's a lot more automation and machines
Yeah,
and stuff than when you were, 12 years old, 14 years old, working at your dad's body shop.
yeah. It's you. I mean, I always wanted to do, my dad always taught me, you just do things right. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much it costs. You do it right, you learn how to do it right, and you will eventually make enough money to do it
Mhm.
properly. And I think that did me well, because you as we would move into the restoration business, you start to move into, and I did all the major players. I mean, Jay Leno. I mean, I all those people. I mean, we got to work with all of them.
Well, let's talk about it. So
Okay.
you start the body shop,
Yep.
and then is it so you keep bringing up restoration. So I'm
Mhm.
assuming that, and forgive me because I'm just I don't
Yep.
know anything. So there's a difference between a body shop that Sally brings her soccer mom minivan into because she hit the parking pole on the way out and it took out the side door.
Mm.
Would that be a different body shop than what you're referring to as like a restoration shop?
Yeah. Totally
Okay.
different. So,
Okay.
one of the things that comes up all the time, people say, because you have to decipher and quantify between, somebody just wanting their car painted and I want a restoration.
So I
And I
think
tell the
Earl
customer,
Shive, right? Like Earl
yeah,
Shive, like I forget, $99 paint job or
yeah,
whatever it was. Okay.
yeah,
Got it.
exactly. And you know, the so when I quantify the customers, like, are you going to drive the car? And they said, yeah. Well, you don't have a show car. I don't care what kind of car it
Okay.
is. If you're going to drive this car, it's not a show car, and it's never going to compete against the cars we do that
Okay.
never, ever, ever get any miles on them. You do not drive these cars. These
Trailer
are trailer
queens.
queens, but they're perfect. I mean, they
Uh-huh.
run, they do everything, and they go in museums. They go in car collections.
Right.
And that's when you start to move into restoration. You're restoring far better than they ever were, and sky's the limit. Money's no object. Nobody's looking at how much it cost. Our paint jobs, when I sold Tom's Auto Body, our paint jobs were over 100 grand just to paint the car, not the body work, not putting it together.
Wow.
Yeah, it just turns into a lot of money. But on the collision side, to start, my buddy's got one of the biggest shops here in Orange County, and he does, I don't know, 650 a month. That's those are the numbers he does, and it costs millions of dollars to have the equipment to do that work. The spot welders, the type of welding they do, the gluing, riveting machines that cost $10,000 just to rivet your car together. And if you don't have those rivets, you're not allowed to fix that car. You've got to buy these rivets from the factory, and yeah, it's really, really, it's a heck of a business now. It's really a heck of a business.
So when you enter and start your own Tom's Auto Body, was that the name
Mm,
of it that you
yep.
started at 20? That is a collision shop that
No,
you
no, no. It's
okay.
a restoration shop.
Okay, so you started you did you decide to go right into
Well,
restoration?
that's a funny story too.
Let's
And
hear it.
I'm going to have a whole bunch of these
I
because it's a lifetime.
we have just as an aside, I love hearing people's stories.
Oh,
I
good,
think I
good.
so there's no take as much time as you need. I
Okay.
enjoy hearing them. I think other people will too. So please, I think it helps, build the full picture. So please take as much time as you need. And
Thanks,
I
Jimbo.
also love tangents. So don't
Yeah.
feel like you're going off on a tangent and it's a bad thing. I always joke that this show should be called like the Tangent Podcast because it's just full of tangents. So please
Yeah.
take your time and I love it.
So, the first year I quit working for about 9 shops because they couldn't keep me busy enough. I wanted all the work. I'm 18 years old. I am full of energy and I will take every bit of work from every other employee that's in that shop. That's how you make money. And if they couldn't keep me busy, boom, I'm packing my tools and moving on to the next body shop. And the van craze was insane. So this is 1978.
Okay.
Everybody's building vans, custom vans, and I built a custom van that year, chop top and flames all over it. And it was called the Odyssey Wedge. And I have pictures of it. It's a pretty cool van. And for the day, it was definitely a standout van. But I quit working for that company. It was Odyssey Auto Body on Catella up in Orange. Mm-hmm. And start looking. And I find this shop in Fullerton called Can-Am Auto Body. It was owned by Chuck Hans. And I walk in and nothing but Ferraris and Corvettes and Porsche. I go, oh, wow, this is awesome.
I'm home, baby.
Yeah, I'm home. And I pull up with my van. So he likes my work. And we become really, really good friends. And but that, that first year, I'm making really good money for a kid. I mean, I'm making $1,000 a week. And that's 1978. I mean, that's a lot of money.
And what are you doing? Totally. And what are you doing? Are you like, where's the money to be made as the worker in the body shop? Is it in, doing, straightening out panels, adding Bondo, or is it in painting the car? Like, where's the money?
Back then, nobody really specialized in one thing because we just wanted money. And body shops weren't, they just weren't as organized as they are today. Today, you only specialize. Okay. You're coming in, you're going to buff, that's what you're doing. You're going to make a living buffing. Or if you're a body man, you're not painting. I'm not going to spend money for you to go to school and learn how to do all the specialty things you need to do on all these cars. Like Ford's got a school, Chevy's got a school, Ferrari's got a school. You got to go to these schools in order to work on these cars, and you have to be certified. So, and then if you're a painter, you're definitely not doing body work because I got a ton of cars for you to paint today and I need them all done and I need them done effectively. But back then we did everything. So,
and you're paid like per,
like
a commission on it.
You're paid off the sheet. So, a straight commission. And then Chuck decides I want to sell the shop. So now I'm 19 years old and he says, you help me sell this shop and the new owner's got to give you half ownership in this business. Okay, cool. I'm 19. That's great. I'm married now. So we go down that path. This guy's name's Joe and I'm still friends with him. But maybe some people will think I burned this guy, but I didn't. I don't feel I burned this guy. So Chuck told him, hey, if you buy this shop, you got to give Tom half ownership. He's the manager. He's been managing my shop for a while now. He manages all the guys. And I'm only 19. So make the deal, sell the shop. And the owner comes to me, the new owner, and he says, I heard I need to give you half ownership. I said, yeah, that's the deal. And he says, I'm only going to give you half ownership if you work for me for 5 years. I said, no, you're going to give me half ownership right now, today, or I'm out of here. And he says, no. I said, fine. There's an empty building right next door to Can-Am. I call that guy. I said, hey, I want to start a body shop. He says, okay, get the keys. I call every shop, every person in that shop, say, I'm leaving. They go, oh, where are you going? Right next door. They said, take my car out of there right now. I want you to do it. Okay. That shop was emptied in one night. And I started Tom's Auto Body that way. That guy would go out of business and lose his deposit that he gave Chuck. Chuck's like, fine, that's okay. I'll sell the business again. He didn't sell the property. And today I have a body shop in that building today.
Wow. I don't feel like that's, I obviously am only hearing one side of the story, but I don't feel like that's burning him. I feel like that's kind of business. That was the agreement and that was the deal. And he bought with that understanding, at least from what you're saying. And I mean, business is business. It's not
Yeah.
always fair.
And I'm still friends with that guy. He calls me every once in a while. So then I would start Tom's Auto Body from there, and we were doing a lot of Panteras for one gentleman. You're going to love this story. Doing right around the corner on Raymond Avenue, there was a place called Advanced Pantera, and I had 4 or 5 Panteras in there. Thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get to work on 4 or 5 Panteras at a time. And didn't know a lot about Panteras, but they had a lot of rust work, and we were just doing paint and body work on these cars. And then that guy ends up killing Mickey Thompson's nephew, murdering him.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh no, I've just lost.
There goes all the work.
I lost my business. And, it's like, oh, what's going to happen here? So another guy sees that I'm aggressive and, I'm doing nice work. And he heard a little bit about me, but he does a lot of Panteras. And he comes into my shop. He says, hey, I'm going to send a car down here. If you do a good job, I'll send another one. Okay. And everybody always says that,
Right.
If you do a good job, I'll tell my friends, and that's,
it's like the biggest red flag you could ever fly is, if you give me a good deal, I got a bunch of buddies,
That's what it turns into. That I would do that one car. His name was Gary Hall. And the next day we would open 2 body shops. I would have 20 Panteras brought to my shop.
Wow.
Now I got to hire a bunch of, I'm 20 years old, 21. I don't think I'm 21 yet. I think this has all happened in the first year. And for the next 10 years, we are the shop. I mean, I don't know nothing about running a business. I know nothing about anything, but we would learn about hiring and firing and all the things that, any business owner just being slammed with work. So we have tons and tons and tons of work just coming out of my ears. And I would, we would become experts on Panteras. We bought special frame machines and alignment machines just for Panteras. And in the 80s, there was a series of car shows called the R.G. Canning series. You might have remembered them. You might be too young for that, but it was a big show series. We dominated that whole series. There was a candy brandywine Pantera with gold plating all over it called Pure Gold. That was one of the paint jobs that we did in bodywork, and all the fun things that I get to talk to my buddies today who are still in the business, and we get to talk about shows and cars. But Tom's Auto Body dominated that series for a long, long time. It was fun.
And is that what led to those relationships you mentioned earlier, Jay Leno and all that, or how did those come about?
I don't, you just, and Jay's a great guy. Jay's really fun to hang out with. Just super sweet, man. Just the nicest person in the whole wide world. As we would launch System 1, Jay would allow System 1 to be the product of Jay's garage. So if you came into Jay's garage, you got System 1. You got our product, and everybody went away from there with our product. But he had tons of cars. He's got his own body shop. He's got his own spray booth. He's got everything. They restore cars there. But it just play and hang out. That would, do you remember Paul Moyer from Channel 4, the anchor?
He was familiar.
Yeah, he was
a big
familiar. Car guy.
Okay.
So they all work for the same network, and we would do his Corvette and just kind of tie us into all of these people. I did Julie Andrews' car, Mary Poppins. Just people that want, have nice cars, and somehow, some way, my name would come up, and we'd get,
because you did good work, right? You did quality work.
We did awesome work. We did, and it wasn't me; it was all my guys, and we did really, really, really high end stuff. It was fun. It was a lot of work, hard work, but I'm glad I got a chance to do it.
Yeah. So where obviously you're using compounds and polishes and all different. Talked about the machines and all. You're using a ton of different things.
Yeah.
So why did you decide? And I keep wanting to say the word compound, but I know that's just yeah, I know that's a loaded term, or maybe not even the accurate term. I know there's, and we can get into that, but for lack of a better term, I'll say compound or liquid, maybe would be better. But why did you decide to go into the liquid space out of every area in the body shop that you could choose? Why the liquid space?
So, and this is another crazy story. This is, I mean, see, I think that, anybody that's listening, I mean, to any young person, just stay focused. God's going to bring in plenty of opportunity for you. Just stay focused. And you don't know which way this is going to go. So the year is 1996. I'm in business for a long time at this time. Married, have a son. Everything is going good. My wife calls me. She's a manager of a big manufacturing plant that makes eyeglass lenses. I'm like, okay, we have her car someplace, and she says, can you come and pick me up? Yeah, okay, I'll be there at this time. And so I get there, and she goes, hey, can we hang out just for a second? There's a guy in the back finishing some lenses. I go, really? Can I go back there? Can I go see what they're doing? She goes, yeah, but don't bug them, because I don't let people go back there normally. Okay, I won't bug them. I just want to see what they do. So I watch them, and they grind one of these lenses. They're grinding them. So it puts the optic into the lens, and the more of the curvature, everybody has different powers in their glass, and they're plastic. And he ground it, and then I see him take the lens and he puts it in this machine. And it's all enclosed, like vacuum tight. And out comes this perfect lens. I'm like, what did you just do? Now, remember, I'm in the high-end paint business, and we are struggling with swirl marks. I mean, I'm using the best 3M products made, and we're really struggling to get paint absolutely perfect. I mean, our paint had to be right on the money. I mean, and we color sanded to the nth degree. There was no ripples, no anything. I mean, these paint jobs were flat as a mirror. And I see this happen. I'm like, oh my gosh, it just blew my mind how you just did that. This guy doesn't know one thing about the machine. He doesn't know anything about what's in there. He's just an employee. He just works there. So I start to research that. Call the company, tell them what I'm doing. They put me with another company. And they said, if you like that, we want you to come out and look at this. This is how we polish F-18 or F-16 canopies. And they start with this gigantic 20-foot, 2-inch plate of polycarbonate or some kind of plastic. And they polish these lenses flat with one single product. And I go, why do you use only one product? They said, if we were to use multiple products, and then when we take it and drape it and mold this piece of plastic, and the pilot sees stray scratches, it could be his life, because, he's going to be shot down. I'm like, wow. So this becomes optical polishing. This is how optical polishing is done. I'm like, I want optical polishing on everything I do. I don't care what it costs. I am going to dive into this. So we start to go down the path, years 1996, and I know nothing. I know nothing about making anything. I know I don't want my products to be like anything that I'm using. Everything I'm using from 3M has problems, and 3M's the best. I'm not saying 3M's not the best. 3M is the absolute, but I have got lots of problems. I mean, it never worked perfect within the parameters that I have to make it work in a body shop. It's time restraints and money restraints and quality restraints, and that never, ever, ever worked perfect. We would have to, go over and over and over to get these paint jobs perfect. So once I seen this, I knew this would be easier. I start to go down the path of 3M. I go, 3M, this is what I'm doing. And I really, this is this is a game changer.
So you show them the optical polish.
I show them.
How did you have a connection with 3M? Just from the body shop industry?
Yeah, just being in the body shop. And I called the rep. The rep put me with the warehouse. The rep ended up connecting me with corporate. So now. And
you showed them this liquid that you found.
Oh man, it's I'm actually taking one of their products at the time. And I'm making that one product do all of these things. And they go, that's impossible. I go, put me with the chemist. So, I mean, I'm no slouch. I know what I'm talking about. I'm good at doing what I do, but I don't know anything about what you guys do. So let's go down that path. So I'm now connected with the chemist at 3M. And and this is a funny story. I'm a Christian, but I'd come to the Lord really late in life, really, really late. And it was like this boing, this eye-opening experience, like, wow, and I'd gone to church my whole life, but I wasn't connected. But it was something really cool that happened, and, call it whatever you want. It just, my brain was enlightened. And as all of that was happening, this opportunity came about. And little did I know this would become the pathway for me from 1996. I'm going down this road with 3M. I hire a marketing company and I come up with the name System 1. My wife really doesn't like it. Now I'm taking some Koine Greek classes, Bible college stuff, and everything gets transposed. Well, what I'd come up with is one system, but when you transpose it, it's System 1. So, when you look at it in the Greek, it's System 1. And I'm like, oh, wow, I love that name. That's awesome. I mean, that's who Jesus is. That's who this product is. This is unbelievable.
It was like all coming together.
Yeah. It's all like, wow, Lord.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And I'm going down this pathway with 3M. I do a humongous seminar at, do you remember the Marconi Museum? It's a big museum in South County. And I have 100 Ferraris there. We're doing a toy drive, and I'm showing the 3M System 1 program. Now, I hadn't made a deal with them on the trademark or anything, but we hired a marketing team. These are the posters, System 1, 3M.
It was like a co-brand.
Yeah. Like this is what I want to do, guys. I didn't know anything about trademarks. I didn't know anything about registering a mark. I didn't know I knew paint and body work. That's it. And I'm at the seminar and I'm telling everybody we're polishing on a Ferrari. You don't need to use compound anymore. 3M comes away from that seminar because they're there and they go, Tom, are you saying you don't need any of our other products? Not only am I saying it, you're watching me remove color sanding scratches with one single product and coming out with an absolute perfect finish. They're like, we're so done with you. We don't want nothing to do with you. Get out. Just stop right now. I'm like, what? This is the answer. What are you guys talking about? And then, my lawyer's like, Tom, you need to do something right now. This is like 19.
Yeah, you showed them everything.
You showed them everything, and you need
up your
to
skirt, and they saw everything. Yeah.
You need to put this in gear. And so Barry McGuire's is doing he's doing his testimony. Barry. And when I sit with Barry, it's so much fun. He loves the Lord, and I now love the Lord. I didn't then. And when he came to my shop, I didn't. I mean, I was hellion. I mean, we drank beer every night at my body shop, and, but we were really productive. It was a really, really productive body shop. But I remember Barry showing me McGuire's number 5 and McGuire's number 7. And he was such a nice man when he came to my body shop and showed me those products way back in the early 80s. So now I'm going to go hear Barry's testimony at Mariners Church. And I get there and, hear his testimony. And my buddy's going, hey, Tom, you need to go talk to Barry. He's got a big company. Maybe he would want to do something with System 1. So I talked to him after the show and I go,
What year is this?
This is 1999.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, we hadn't launched System 1 yet.
Okay.
But I'm done with 3M. I mean, they're throwing me to the curb, and obviously Barry hadn't sold his company to 3M yet. They're really productive. I know everybody at everybody, all Jason Rose and all the guys.
Yep.
I would get to know them in a little way.
Yeah.
But they had great jobs and working for a big monster company, and Barry's doing great. And, I would listen to his testimony about how the Lord did this and that in his life. And I go to Barry, I go, Barry, I came up with this crazy idea. Love for you to look at it. Maybe you can run with it, because I don't know nothing about this business, but you do. And I believe this is going to change the whole entire industry. Everything is going to be changed from this product. And he says, well, we'll look at it. And his girl called me up, and she's like, yeah, Tom, it's just not the right time. Now, I do believe this is probably when Barry was doing stuff, maybe with 3M, I don't know, but obviously didn't want to look at us anymore. So now my lawyer's like, Tom, you are exposing yourself. You better do something. So we launch System 1 at NACE 2001, right after 9/11. It was a dead show. I mean, everybody's still just heartbroken on what happened at 9/11. And this is at Mandalay Bay. And I would meet a couple people, and those couple people would be what springboards System 1 into outer space. From there, System 1 would get hooked up with a company in Australia, and that company would hook us up with PPG. PPG would run with the name System 1 PPG, and I'm selling drums of this product every month, and it's a game changer. We bumped Frekla and Maguire's out of that market for the whole Asia, Australia market. They were the products that were being used down there. Now System 1 is the product being used down there. So now we're selling a lot. And
did you make sure you had your trademarks in order?
Yeah,
and everything in order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we launched at NACE
Okay.
in 2001, we were a registered mark.
Okay.
So System 1 would become a registered mark, and it was it was off to the races after that. But then I would go through a nasty divorce, and she would want the name, and so I would have to give up the brand, and
because that's where I didn't meet you, but that's where I met the brand. I started detailing, I think in 2008 I started, but I don't think I'd be introduced to the brand till 2009, I think.
Oh, okay.
And I got introduced as still the one compound.
Yep.
But I thought the one thing that was very interesting to me was the double-sided pad that you had with the pad adapter.
Yeah.
Which is crazy hearing the story, because I didn't know all this, that it was 10 years into the journey of this single liquid, or maybe even 14 years, right? Into this journey of this single liquid. And even at the time when I found it in 2009, it was like, that's impossible. How could that be? Like, guys are, even now, today in 2024, 2025, whatever, people are they're just at least in the detailing space, just coming around to this idea that you only really need one liquid.
Yep.
Right. And you had System 1 had a really good spray wax, I want to say, at the time too. Just like, again, a really easy to use, like didn't streak. And that was really crazy for the time too.
That double-sided pad was really neat. Buff and Shine was making all my stuff. And the guy who owned Dedication to Detail, neat guy, look him up. He's brilliant. I mean, the guy is he's got this scuff thing now, sells it on QVC, makes a fortune just selling this pad scrubber. But he called me up. He says, Tom, I want your business. Fly out here. I'm like, okay. He goes, I want to do something totally different with what you're doing. And I fly in about 10 o'clock at night. I don't know where I am. I'm thinking Long Island, someplace on the East Coast. I just can't remember where I landed. And he says, he says, do you want to go to my shop right now? And we'll go work on designing a new pad. I said, what? Right now? I get there and he's got employees working in the shop doing yarn and doing all. I said, what kind of an idea? He goes, you have system one. I want to put together a wool pad and a foam pad with a center drive all in one. I go, you can do that? And that night he designed it. We were the first company to have it.
It was insane because it was like a quick, I mean, I don't know if it's still out there.
He sold the company to 3M not long after that.
Okay. Got it. Cause it was like a quick, almost like if people can,
release.
A quick release thing that went into the center of the pad.
Yep.
And so you could, it was so awesome. And it was so, do they still sell them? Is that still around?
Yeah. 3M has the center drive. Nobody has the wool foam pad anymore. And
we're going to see it come back. I bet you.
Yeah.
I bet you.
I mean, as a company, we've kind of gone away from using rotary to finish. We use wool to do all of our cutting, wool all the way, and we use a DA to finish. So,
okay. So I'm glad you brought this up. So it's going to be a little bit of a tangent though.
Okay.
So there is a discussion of this guy, Ivan LaCroix, in the detailing space. Yep. I don't know if you know him. Mm. And he's a big proponent of rotary for finishing, right? And it talks till he's blue in the face about rotary to finish, and DA is better for cutting. Okay. Oh my gosh. I have the same opinion as you. I think it's the most ludicrous thing ever because I'm not from a body shop industry. But practically speaking, when I detail a car, a DA is not faster to cut, not even remotely close.
Not even close.
So because I would consider you as one of the kings of polishing because you actually do what I think is way above detailing. You're talking about removing texture. You're talking about, finishing paint like a mirror, like a true mirror. We're not just talking surface level, swirl marks or scratches, whatever. Is it faster to cut with a DA, and is it better to finish with a rotary?
So whenever I'm talking to anybody, I can't just go back and forth with banter. It has to be stop and drop. I mean, we're going to quantify this right now. I'm going to line up 32 buses, and your job on commission is to buff all of these buses. That's your job. Are you going to do it with a rotary, or are you going to do it with a DA? You're getting paid commission. So, the triangle is time and quality and price, right? That's any marketing triangle. In that time parameter, because time's not unlimited. I don't have unlimited time. I have a certain parameter of time. Do you want to race me? I have 32 buses. Are we doing it with a rotary? Are we doing it because I have scratches and things that need to be removed that I need to use something harsh at first. And then how am I going to finish it? Am I going to do it with a rotary that possibly could give me a swirl mark, a halogram, or am I going to do it with a DA? I mean, I think it's answered in that argument. You're not going to win. I am going to beat you.
It's such, in my opinion, it's such a ludicrous. I think it's such a ludicrous argument, and anyone who has spent time with machines at all would, I think, know that. And I think it's really setting up novices for disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot when you also the triangle, I like that you pointed that out, but also, a risk reward, scale of, when you look at the risk reward of a DA versus a rotary for a novice, if you're talking about someone's first time polishing a car and you're telling them to finish with a rotary, there's no pot. I don't give a crap what the liquid is. Not happening. Not happening. All right. So we put that to bed.
And I listen to so many of these, and I'm glad we're on this subject, Jimbo. I love what you do. I really do. I told you that on the phone. I think you have a mindset that makes sense for me when I'm listening to you. I can follow you. I track with you. And I think you're going to be really successful at doing these podcasts because it helps me to message what because our message is crazy. Tom, what are you saying? To get rid of everything but one? Yeah, throw it all away. Throw everything away, and it's just going to. And I know that's a harsh statement, and I'm not doing it to be harsh. I'm doing it to be safer on the paint and have a better finish and cost less. I mean, I know we win on all three of those things, and nobody's going to beat us. They can match us, they can copy us, they can all go down that path, and I hope they do. I hope that, and they are. I mean, everybody's got their own single product program now. So, but when we look at like when I listen to these other podcasters, they're so afraid. Oh, I need to teach in a way that people don't damage cars. You know what? That was never taught to me. I'm a young boy. I'm 10 years old. And I go, Dad, I like what you're doing with that. But my dad was like, a big guy, muscular. And, he's holding on to this buffer. I'm 10 years old. I'm a little tiny, skinny kid. And I grabbed this buffer and oh my gosh, you can't even hold it up, and we're only sanding with 600 back then. And we only have a buffer there's no variable trigger. It's on off. And you're using a monster buffer with a wool pad and super duty compound. So of course, my little skinny body is ripping holes through the paint. My dad's with all the finesse is making it work. My dad never made it easy. No, you are going to learn how to use it. And I think that, my job, I go into body shops all day long, and my job is to make those entry-level guys productive. That's my job. I do not have another job. They have no experience at all. That's fine. Just watch what I do. We're going to do this the right way, and you're going to be super fast, super efficient, and have a job that you can make money for your family. I think when we pull back and we say, rotaries are dangerous, don't do that. What? We need to teach people how to use the proper tool for the proper job. And I like that you bring that up, because I don't understand why anybody, you have to learn how to use a rotary. You absolutely, positively have to learn how to use one.
Yeah, I think the rotary is such a, when Rupes was becoming really popular back in like 2014, 2015, when they launched these 15 and 21 millimeter throws, and it's a massive step up from the Porter Cable 7424. But what happened was there was like an overcorrection, I think, of people went to only DA. And then I saw in the detailing space of these guys spending hours and hours and hours on paint correction. And I'm like, if you had a rotary, you would do the rotary first, right? Exactly. You would be on the car like a third of the time, and then you would finish with a DA and be done. That's why this idea of like finishing with a rotary, I don't buy it. And coming from a body shop guy like yourself, I think that's insight too, of like, you're doing hundreds of thousands of dollar paint jobs and you're not finishing with a rotary. That tells me a lot. So
no, DA is far better for finishing, and it's safer, and I could get the secretary out of the office and she can finish perfectly with the DA once the rotary work's done.
Yeah. And to your point though, that's not to say that the rotary is not a needed tool. It's just, it has a certain bucket, and it stays in that bucket. Exactly. And I think that bucket is cutting.
We were the first company to push the force rotation market. We were first at so many things, but back in the System 1 days, we were looking for something different. We had the double-sided pad that was working great, but, we're still finishing with a rotary. Festool comes to us and says, hey, we got this new tool. It's got a forced rotation on it. Oh, wow. Let me see it. So, and they're expensive. I mean, they're really, really expensive tool. And I sold a lot of them. I mean, we were definitely the biggest seller of those tools way before Rupes isn't even here yet. But we're pushing this forced rotation Festool, and we become a Festool dealer. And yes, it finished better than the rotary as far as swirl marks goes, but because it's putting in a tiny mark, and it puts a hook mark in the surface because you're forcing the rotation, and you have to look at it under a microscope. It was almost dulling the finish. It was like, I don't see any swirl marks. It's definitely deliverable, but it's not that big pop. I lost the pop.
Mm.
So we would go back to using a rotary and get rid of the Festool. And, you know, we had already sold lots and lots of those. So, yeah, I'm not, you know, I think that this, that we need to, you know, and our motto is keep it simple. I mean, that is CSI's complete motto all the time. It's just, let's go down a pathway to perfect paint as easy as possible. And that DA, we use I mean, I'm a flex dealer, so we use the 15 millimeter throw DA to finish with, and it works awesome.
Got it. So let's go back to system 1.
Okay.
So towards, I guess, so you said you go through a divorce,
Yep.
And she wants the name. So
Yep.
do you end up losing the system 1 name?
I did for a little while.
Okay.
You know, because so she takes it, partners with somebody else. They call it something else, and then they don't last. Their partnership doesn't last long. So,
because system 1 was, you mentioned it, international.
Yeah, we were all the way,
doing incredibly well.
man.
And what was the product lineup at that time? Was it just
we,
the double-sided pad and the liquid, or what was it?
So everything was made for the body shop, because that was my market. Did it work for detailing? Yeah, it worked great for detailing, but I wasn't focusing there. I mean, we would sell it at trade shows and this and that to anybody who wanted it, home hobbyist, whatever. But we made a tire dressing specific to the body shop, so no fish eyes. And you know, if we're talking to body shop people, they're going to know, if you put Armor All in a body shop, you are going to get fired. You cannot. At least back then, I don't know if Armor All has changed
because of the silicones.
It's because of the type of silicone. I mean, silicones are in everything we make. I mean, you know, everybody hates the word silicone, but it is everywhere. But there are silicones that are totally fine in a body shop. Clearcoat has silicone in it. The clear that I spray can have a lot of silicone in it, and it's obviously fine in a body shop. But when you put a silicone in the air, Armor or WD-40, oh my gosh, you spray WD-40 in a body shop, it's going straight in the spray booth, and you're going to have fish eyes. You cannot use that product to lube anything in a body shop. It's going to be a serious problem.
Is it because of the particle size of the silicone? Is that what it has to do with?
Because of how it becomes airborne. It becomes airborne, and it just gets everywhere. It gets on us. It you know, and these become dangerous. And that's why some detailing products are very, very, very bad in a body shop. Our products are made for, you know, big industries, manufacturing plants and body shops, and we build them for that. So we had a tire dressing, we had a wax, we had a swirl mark remover. It was a paint enhancer. So, and I tell people, and we still have that. It's called D1 today. But it was to take the beautiful finish that we got from System 1 and to enhance it. So we said a System 1 finish should be like a 4K, like, you know, going from a 1080p to a 4K. It's beautiful. But now I want to go to 8K. I want to go to OLED. Well, D1 will take you to that OLED finish.
Got it.
You know, not many people really need that. And I tell detailers, I said, there's no reason to waste the time and money on doing that next level unless you're getting paid.
Right.
Now, if you can sell it to the customer, boom, sell it and, you know, take his paint job to that next level. So, yeah, we just had a few products. We didn't have a lot of products at System 1 at that time.
So, System 51 came after System 1. So was that in the midst of
that wasn't anything to do with me? I think that they, you know, when my ex partnered to do that, and I think all the videos were with me at that time. And even though we didn't have YouTube or we didn't, still there was such a lot of following that I had. So they really needed to do something different. And that was, I think that was their attempt at doing something better.
Okay.
I mean, I heard stories like System 51 is 50 times better than System. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, run with it.
Got it.
It is all good. I mean,
Got
and
it.
I think that they ended up doing, the people on that other side ended up doing good. So it's good. I'm glad for them.
So we'll leave that there. Uh, Something interesting happened, and I think I want to talk about it too, because it got brought up recently. We talked about this before, just on the phone, but to bring McGuire's and 3M back into this fold,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
they released something around, maybe you know the exact date. I want to say 2010, maybe,
Mhm.
called Solo
Yeah.
One.
Yeah. Solo. Yeah.
Can you
That was
talk to
fun.
Solo One and talk
Yeah.
about that time?
So System 1 is really, really doing good. I mean, I was grateful. And it was my wife at the time, this is before the divorce. It was fun. Our body shop, out in front of the body shop, we'd have pallets of System 1 going all over the country. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, what?
Because were you mixing it? Sorry, not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
from
At the body
optical
shop.
polishing, and then you're actually mixing System 1.
Yeah. So, that takes me, people are like, how'd you do that? I'm a body shop guy. What business do I have making anything?
Mhm.
When I did the thing with 3M, I knew that even though I was using a 3M product, when I was doing stuff with them, it needed more. It needed more bite. But I didn't know. This is complicated. How in the
Yeah.
world do you do this? So I knew what I wanted a product to do. I knew that I didn't want the smell that any of the 3M products had. I didn't want it drying in the jams and, getting hard. So you start studying emulsion technology.
Mhm.
My wife, this is, and again, this goes back to my first wife, and, we were married for a long time, 20 some years. And, she wore face cream, like any woman would.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's really cool technology. Why don't we have products like that? Why don't we have products that look like this face cream stuff? Well, I don't know how to do that. So I called a couple people. They said, you need to go to Cal Poly. Oh, what? Go back to college. Okay. So I started taking night classes on product formulation. I said, this is what I want to do. I want to take skincare technology and I want to move it into building products. So little by little, I'd learn how to do that. And we took nano-based thickeners, and then you start moving in all the different components to come out with what would become System 1. That was, it. And then, after the breakup of System 1, there was a big money guy who came in, and he was a really good customer of Tom's Auto Body. I'd done all his cars, big wealthy man, had huge business in LA, making paint. And I did all of his cars at the body shop in the 80s. And I told him what I was doing. And I had another money guy who wanted to get in. And I said, Bob, and his name was Bob Berg. And I said, Bob, can you look at this contract? This guy's a lawyer. And he was a lawyer for one of the big writers in Hollywood. So he knew how to write contracts. It was a 25-page contract. And he was going to be the money guy on where I was going. And Bob looks at it and he goes, Tom, I so much believe in what you're doing that I want to do it. I have distribution all over the country. We sell everywhere. And I think that you're on to something here. I think I showed you the Cal Poly document that, us going against 3M and us going against Frekla, and, hands down, System 1 would be, this is the direction that all polishing needs to go. 80-page document written by Cal Poly. So Bob's like, I'm in. Carte blanche, sky's the limit. You'll have your own office, your own chemist. You'll have your own lab. I'm like, what?
This is the paint guy.
Yeah, this is the paint guy.
Okay.
So, System 1 is coming apart. I moved to LA, and it's off to the races. I mean, it's for 1 year, I'm in the lab with chemists on taking the System 1 formulas to the next level, and that would become CSI. So the name fit too, because, when I came to him, I really thought I was going to bring System 1 there, but then the fight would have been too ugly. So he's like, just let her have it. Let her, Tom, I'm not going to get between you and your wife. And I understand it now as a businessman, because me and her would fight for a while until we both grow up a little bit and, go, okay, it's all good. So I sit down with Bob and he goes, let's change the name. And I go, well, what do you want to call it? He goes, let's call it CSI. I go, where'd you come up with that at, Bob? He's 81 years old. He goes, from the TV show. I go, what? What does that have to do? He goes, who cares? It's a cool name. Let's just run with CSI. We'll come up with the acronym later. So it becomes Clearcoat Solutions LLC. I go, well, Clearcoat's 2 words. He goes, it isn't anymore. It's 1 word, Clearcoat Solutions LLC. I'm like, okay, whatever. Just a really cool guy. So that's where, the CSI comes in. And for 1 year, we didn't sell a thing. I did not sell 1 drop of product. I mean, he's paying me to, and it's, car, full ride and full. I mean, I just felt so blessed going through that thing, and he's covering every detail. And we're running hard with this CSI program. And then in 2015, he dies at his house in an airplane crash. He's got a paved 5,000-foot runway at his house
in LA,
in Paso Robles.
Okay,
so
got it.
He would fly in every week and live here in LA, and then fly home. Beautiful, beautiful piece of property. I remember flying with him because we're going to paint an airplane out at his house. And he goes, see that down there? I go, yeah, what is that? And he goes, that's my house with my runway. Whoa. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's awesome, man. And he was such a humble man. He was just a really, really cool guy.
Wow.
Loved cars, loved what we were doing. But him and his buddy are playing on the airport or runway. And something happened to their plane and it killed them both right on their run. And he was 82 years old or something. But so now I got to, now we got to do something else. We ended up putting manufacturing together. And now we're, where we are now. But on the 3M thing that you were talking about, and sorry for the rabbit trail.
Like I said, this podcast should be called The Tangent Show, because that's what we do.
The dots do connect. They
yeah.
Do, but yeah, we, I had offered my company, what wasn't even a company, to Barry, an idea. And I can understand Barry's like, what? I don't have time.
About what year?
This was when I was at the Mariners conference.
Okay, got it.
In 1999.
Okay, got it.
We, I'm a body shop guy. I have no business doing this. And I offered to him and he says no. And I'm like, okay. And then I start System 1. Well, System 1 becomes so successful, he has to chase me into that market. And, and he's got a lot of powerful hitters, marketing guys. And I believe Jason was there then. And Jason's really high up at Rupe's now. And, I just look at how God has moved everybody around in this industry. Mike Phillips, I think, was there at McGuire's at that time too. So, and they're all buddies. I mean, we all say hi to each other when we see each other, and it's. I
think
cool
Rupes even recently tried to go to it, or they did. They had a product. Well, I remember it.
Oh, did they? Wow.
Uno Protect.
Oh, wow.
But then they, I think, even recently tried to rebrand that too into something else. Anyway, go on, but keep going.
Yeah, it's. And I mean, you know, look at 3D. You know, I know Tunch really well, and you know, Tunch knew what I was doing and wanted to know all the details about that, and would launch all of his single product.
Let's talk about that
Okay, cool.
because I really like. First, it started with I think it's 3D Speed now.
Oh yeah.
But and I think 3D started because he was going after 3M. That's at least a story I heard of how he came up with the name. I don't know how true that is, but here nor there. So HD or 3D Speed became a really popular product, and then they launched 3D One. I'm hoping people start to see why I wanted to have you on the show, Tom, because you know, all roads lead back to Tom, it seems like. And
it's all fun, man. It's all fun. I get along great with Tunch. You know, I wish, you know, it takes a lot of money, man. This playing in this game, it takes so much money. And I hey, Tunch, come on, man, let's do something. And he had, you know, he had his own ideas. And
well, let's talk about it. So, so did Tunch approach you? Do you know anything about the HD Speed, or like, because I haven't, or
all of his guys, all of his, I mean, you can probably tell I'm pretty aggressive. I love to compete. I raced bicycles up to just a few years ago, and you know, I just love it. I mean, you know, start doing something and I want to do it full throttle. I mean, I just want to win. But when Tunch's guys, you know, they would see that Tom's doing this. His guys, I remember one time they're like, "Oh, Tom, we're gonna take this motorhome company away from you." Okay, yeah. So the motorhome company says, "I'm going with whoever can win here," and it's right around the corner from 3D. So, you know, 3D was in there all the time trying to bump me out. And this is one of Tunch's guys, and who thought the DA is going to be faster than my Rotary. So they color sand the whole front of this motorhome.
Interesting how that comes back around.
Tape it off top to bottom. And they said, "We're going to beat you, Tom." I said, "You are going to lose so badly here." And this is from a DA color sand scratch. This is not an easy scratch to remove. And this guy's, I mean, we're done. We're done with the whole side. And the owner of the motorhome, he says, "CSI's in, 3D's out." So as far as I know,
3D tried to cut with a DA and it didn't work.
It didn't. I mean, it was, but I think there's still a lot of people who try and cut with a DA. It's,
yeah.
These paints are so, you know, Darren and I, you know, Darren Priest, he just had a project, and he's like, "Tom, can you know, let's do this and we'll do a video on it." And it was a brand new BMW. And, you know, we're launching a new product called XX. And I said, "Well, yeah, let's see." I don't do detailing all the time, but I'll help you on it. It's a brand new BMW, and it's got a carbon fiber roof on it. Beautiful car, beautiful. But it had a bunch of deep scratches on a super low mile car. And I said, "Darren, I think XX might be a little bit too much for this, you know, because I don't want to hit the carbon fiber roof and damage it." But I start working with regular ceramics on this paint, and I'm not moving the scratches. I mean, this thing is, and I'm using a Rotary. I mean, it is hard as a rock. I go to XX, and man, it's like butter. I mean, I'm now taking it all out. I use a foam pad and with a DA on the roof and do the carbon fiber roof. It just sparkled. So I understand the idea and the fear of using a Rotary. I totally understand it. But at the end of the day, we need to make money. And Darren and I did 4 hours each on that car. So that's 8 hours worth of labor. And, you know, whatever your hourly rate is, I would not, there's nobody that could have done it any faster. We're using a Rotary and a DA, and we're working hard. I mean, I'm sweating bullets, and Darren's in really good shape. I'm not in good shape anymore. And I mean, I was dehydrated. I was beat up, man. Doing detail work is hard.
It is hard.
Man. And, you know, I said to him at the end of this, I'm going, I mean, I want $100 an hour. So that's $800 just for paint correction. That's a lot of money.
Right.
And you're not going to do it any faster. And the car came out unbelievable. So you want to be productive. And, you know, when I did that thing with Tunch's guys, I mean, they just, I mean, they know that they lost. I mean, they lost the customer. Hopefully they went away from there and go, okay, we need to get on a Rotary program. You know, because you're not going to win. You're not going to beat a Rotary. I mean, it's like a chainsaw and a handsaw. It's like,
right,
you know,
right.
how am I going to cut down trees? You know,
and you're talking about for cutting, you know,
yeah, for
not
cutting,
not
yeah.
necessarily finishing.
No,
and I'm sure if there was
no.
anyone that could finish with a Rotary, it would be you, right? And
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
choosing to not finish with the Rotary.
Yeah, it's, you know, I mean, I think you want to leave behind as light a scratch as possible so that the DA can take it up really fast. And obviously, you know, our whole program works around the single product mentality. So whatever we start with, we finish with.
Got it. So bring us to current day. You've been ripped off, it sounds like, a million ways to Sunday.
It's all good though. It's all good.
It's all good, but it is like, I think too, like we saw McGuire's relaunch this Solo One program. I think I told you about that. And I just giggled because I'm like, this wasn't even an original McGuire's idea that you guys, and it didn't even work for you guys back in whatever that was, 2010 or whatever. And they brought out a double-sided pad back then.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
And it was funny to see it kind of come out again. But then, like I said, we have HD Speed, Rupes is that everyone's, at least in the detailing space, kind of like teetering and poking around this one liquid idea. But do you see it now catching on with the body shops? Is it really catching on with people? What's your current line? What's the current status of CSI? What is all that?
So current status, you know, we launched manufacturing in January of this year, and I had some big company making our product, but it's a very, very difficult emulsion to make. And if you just put somebody on the machine and throw the products in, you could have some issues with the emulsion. You really, and I was having problems with them. So I said, oh my gosh, do I really, I mean, I'm 65. Do I really want to start over and put manufacturing? But it's either that or we go out of business. So, because I'm not going to put up with our product not being absolutely perfect. Nobody was really complaining. Nobody complained until I told them we were having problems. Then hey, Tom, I got problems. Okay,
send me the new version.
Send me the new version. Of course,
Right.
So I get back in the lab, and we put manufacturing together, and I see that, and I haven't addressed the formula since 2008. I mean, I locked all those formulas in 2008, and we've been selling it since then and doing well. But now in this year in January, I have the opportunity to relook at raw materials. So the raw materials people are like, Tom, we got some new stuff since then. And I go, really, what's changed? And you go, this and this and this and this. And I go, okay, then I have to rewrite a formula. So I make a new formula and I start to go down that path. I'm like, oh my gosh, now we're dumping steroids into ceramics. And I'm like, wow, ceramics is really.
And ceramics, just for the people that don't know, is kind of the current version of what System 1 was way back in the day.
So System 1 was there. 2008, I get hooked up with Bob Berg. We redo System 1 into ceramics, CSI ceramics.
Got it.
And so it's a modified version of that. It's better. Cuts more, does this, does that. And it was everything we needed and everything that I had the ability to do with all the chemists and stuff at the time. And it was I believe it was the best product on the market in 2008. And it's, Tunch, and, everybody would look at that product and go, oh, we can do better. And, they, whatever. I mean, if they did better, great. I'm happy.
Right.
But it was our flagship. And then in 2024, I look at this formula and I'm dumping so much more of the components into this. My price point's starting to go up. I'm like, I can't bump out of our price point. So I stop, I modify it a little bit, lock it in, say, this is the new improved ceramics and everybody loves it. And then I go back in the lab. I'm like, oh no, we're going to Lance Armstrong this thing. And we go right into, I mean, this thing, the new XX. Oh my gosh, this is a really awesome product. And we're selling it to big manufacturing companies now. People that produce big, like fire engine manufacturing company, they use compound, and now they use just this, and they polish red fire engines to perfection with this product. So, and we're selling tons of this product now. So that's the direction we're going. XX will be the flagship for productive places. Regular ceramics will be a great product for detailers, but like that BMW that Darren and I did, I wouldn't want to use ceramics on that. I'd want XX on that car because the paint.
So XX just has more cut in it. Is that what it is?
It has more cut, but it still maintains the finish. So you're able to get. And I tell people, I say, take a bottle full of rocks. That's if you blow it up with a microscope, that's what we have in ceramics. How can I get more rocks in there? I can't. The bottle's full. It's full of these rocks. But if I pour sand in there, the level of the rocks don't go up. So that's what we did. We locked all the rocks together with more of this stuff, and it's unbelievable. It's really and
you're just switching the machine and pad and keeping the liquid, right? That's the whole idea behind this.
Even with CSI, that's we've moved away from rotary finishing probably 4 or 5 years ago. So it's wool pad to cut, DA to finish. And with ceramics, it's that way. And the SOP on XX is that way too. Wool to cut, the heaviest, harshest 4-ply wool that you can get, real wool. Do all your cutting, and we'll take out a 320 grit scratch. With XX, we can take out 320. I mean, nobody should do that.
Right.
Because you're going to remove a lot of paint, but
especially this audience being, predominantly detailers, and we're talking swirl marks and spider webbing as kind of the worst of it. Or even the beginning polisher. I think, like I mentioned to you on the phone, I think there's a lot of people entering this DIY market, which is why I think your product fits perfect because, for me personally, I get so frustrated and annoyed by it. Well, it used to be the 3-step system, right? Yeah. And where you wanted 3 different compounds or 3 different liquids, 3 different pads, and 2 different machines. And it was just like this ginormous undertaking to polish out a car, And so I was always looking. That's how I found System 1. I was always looking for a simplified system, And now, as I look at kind of this prosumer DIYer kind of guy doing it in his garage, or gal, I guess, whatever. They don't have 40 years experience of working in a body shop. They don't have 20 years as a detailer experience. They're picking up a machine for the first time. And I thought, man, there's no better option than like a single liquid for these people to not overcomplicate it, because I mean, you really can get yourself in a sticky situation super quick, really can. And so that's why I like it. And I've been a big fan of System 1. And it was interesting to hear a bunch of nuggets that I'd never heard before. What do you see for, as this podcast will probably go live in the new year. So what do you see for CSI in 2025, kind of and beyond? It's,
I guess every step, I mean, I can't believe we make it, one more day. It's a hard grind. I mean, our competition is 3M, period. I mean, we're not here to compete with, I mean, they're monster company. They are monster company, and they build good products. Ours are just better. That's what I say. So, our job, our sales team's job is to be careful, going into the smaller shops. Don't waste much time there. because you're not making that much money on this product to spend. Oh, I want to teach this guy who does detailing or this guy who paints one car a year. No, I need to be the people who, I want to be in the places they drink product. They 8-10 gallons a day,
Right.
That's where, so you just have to be careful with how you spend your resources. We're not a big company, so we don't have unlimited funds, but I do love seeing, what I saw in the beginning. And it was hard to show people, this concept of System 1. Even my dad, my dad was, in the body shop business forever. And I told him, I said, Dad, I got, he goes, Tom, you can't do that. That's impossible. I go, Dad, I'm telling you, this really works. And we're doing unbelievable paint work. You already know what kind of paint work we do. We're replacing all products with one single product. I send it to him. He's on fire now, telling all of his buddies back there in Ohio. And I still sell those. My dad's gone now, but the guys who worked for my dad, who have big body shops now, they're buying the product and, telling their friends about it. So, that's how you grow a business. And, what I hope, I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, it's just fun to sit here with you, Jimbo, and talk about this stuff. And, and I mentioned lots of people's names like Tunch. I would love to talk to Tunch. Knows the whole story. Barry knows the whole story. They all know this wasn't easy. There was nothing easy. I'm a painter. I'm a body man. I'm a body shop owner. But God would take me into Never Never Land. And this is just like God, right? We didn't make any money off of all these people doing single product, but I believe it did transform the industry, and that's God, right? There's plenty of market to go around.
Totally.
We're taking our little niche and, moving as hard as we can. And, there's facts in there that we're mill gauge measured to be the safest way to polish paint. You're never going to beat a single product system. I don't care. I'll go up against any multiple product system. You will never, ever beat from a deep scratch to a final finish, a final deliverable finish. Now, can I go to 8K with ceramics or, XX? No. But tell me, like on that BMW that we did, we had 8 hours in it. I'm going to have a hard time charging that customer $800
right.
or two guys work. If I take his paint to 8K, am I getting paid more? No, you are not. Do not do that. This car is awesome at 4K. And that's the one thing, being in business now for as long as I have. And I wasn't a businessman when I started. It would take many years of losing money to learn how to make money, and then try to hold on to it. You have to build it around that parameter, that triangle of time. You have to. Time is important. Time is commission. So, if I was speaking to detailers, it's like, yes, you can do better, but unless you're selling it, because that's a whole nother hat. Unless you put that hat on and sell yourself, like when we went to $100,000 paint shops, well, I'm not dealing with tire kickers no more. Right. I'm not coming in my shop going, well, can you do it any cheaper? Get out of here. I'll tell you a story. We had a big shop, and Tom's Auto Body's going really hard in the 90s. And this guy walks in my shop, and my neighbor told me he was going to send over his friend. And we had nothing but Ferraris in there at that time. And this guy walks in my shop. We had a 7,000 square foot shop down there off spread with just top of line everything. And he walks in, he says, hey, I've got a couple Chevelles that nobody's doing Chevelles for any money at that time. And I'm like, I don't do Chevelles. I'm sorry. I just don't do them. He walks out and he goes, oh, okay. See you later. Nice man. My neighbor walks back. He goes, Tom, did my friend come over here and talk to you? I go, yeah. But he's got a couple of Chevelles and I don't do that. And he goes, do you know who that was? That was the owner of Oakley. I'm like, oh my God.
Whoops. Whoops. I do Chevelles now.
Yeah, I do now. So you never know, you just
Never know. Why did you sell Tom's Auto Body?
So that was in the System 1 days. That was 2008. I didn't know that Tom Horvath would, would basically move away from System 1. I didn't know because this is such a passion of mine. But the way things worked out, the divorce and all that stuff, it was, everything was just timing. And it was, the polish business was big enough now to fully support me. I didn't need the body shop anymore. So I sold the body shop to some buddies who still have it today. They didn't get the name, but they got the building, and they're still in there today.
Okay.
And, and then it wouldn't be long after that, I would see that the whole System 1 thing was going to frizzle out of just go crazy. And but Bob Berg would be there to pick up the pieces, and Tom, come on, man, I got your back, and we're going to go run with this. And I think that's been the journey. You just, you don't know where the next step is. Isn't that faith, right?
Totally.
The things totally unseen, but hoped for. It's like, I don't know where we're going. And you make that step, and oh, wow, wow, this is even more solid than it was before, and it's exciting. It's really, really exciting. I love the products that we have now, especially like the ceramic sprays and neat stuff, really, really neat stuff.
Why do you think, I was just thinking, like 3M or even McGuire's, or I guess the conglomerate that they are now, why wouldn't they, if they saw that your product was better? I get the premise of not wanting to sell less product from their standpoint, but which makes sense. But why not have their, number 2 polish or number 2 compound or their number 3 of the system? Why not buy you out or partnership with you or bring you into the fold to capture that technology and just put it in the system that they currently have? Because even if they weren't having less product, replacing one of their current liquids with a far superior product would ultimately give a better product, which in turn would ultimately even cement their feet in the industry even more. So why do you think either Barry in the early days, who knows, maybe he was talking to 3M at the time, right? And because those deals take a long time.
They take a long time. Yeah.
But why not? Why hasn't one of those brands, and the answer could be you don't want to do that, but why not just buy you out to buy the technology?
That is such a loaded question. And I mean, something that I've asked myself over and over and over again. And here's the way that I answered. I mean, one, we got egos. Everybody's got egos. At Ellis Paint, we had a gas chromatograph. Now, a gas chromatograph is a machine that I can put any product in, and I can tell you what's in it. It runs through a computer.
Reverse engineer it, right?
Totally reverse engineer anything. I don't care how top secret it is. I know your formula. Now I just got to build it and experiment and put it in a lab and do all the things to make it legal and all that stuff. And so we have that technology. They have that technology. Nobody at 3M is going to say I'm wrong now. Nobody at McGuire's is going to say I'm wrong. We have the proof. I got Cal Poly backing me up, saying this is the way that optical polishing is done. But you want to collapse a product line. And I call this it's a collapsing funnel, because once you dive into this, you cannot go back. You cannot, you absolutely, would I ever in any circumstance, I don't care what it is, ever pick up a bottle of compound and polish car. Never. I don't care. Never. I would never do it. I don't care if I'm buffing a boat, 200-foot boat. I'm, scaffold on both sides in Florida. Would I ever use compound? No, I'd never do it because I know the damage it's doing to the paint. I already know that. I know it from a scientific point of view, and with the speed that we now have with XX, I will blow away a compound with this product. There is not many compounds on the planet that'll take a 320 grit scratch out.
Right.
But this stays wet enough to dig deep with these microscopic nano diamonds just going in and zipping it right out. And then you're left with a beautiful finish. Still, it has a wool pad mark in it, but you kiss it with a DA and it's like perfect.
We didn't even talk about polishing in direct sun. That's what I liked about System 1 back in the day too. It wouldn't dry out. And
you know what? When I was designing it, I had, I'm not a chemist. I'm a formulator, and this is something you'll get a kick out of. I'm going to Cal Poly, and I'm talking to the professor. I'm like, "Am I going to be a chemist when I finish?" He goes, "No, Tom, you're going to be a formulator." And I said, "Oh, what's the difference?" He said, "Well, chemists are so smart. It took them 8 years to become a chemist, and they really know, nanomolecules on water or oil or whatever. But they're very specialized. They're so smart. They absolutely know that you can't do that. You, on the other hand, Tom, you don't know that. So you're going to continue to try until you get it." I'm like, wait a minute, that's like a dig on me. What are you saying? I'm not smart. But that is a true formulator. I literally have, I don't know, it might be 100,000 formulas. Every day I would do 2 or 3 formulas, 2 or 3, just throw it away. Just to get it to do what we wanted. And at the end of the day, the working in the sun would become the possibility that no other product ever touted. We buff in direct sun on a black car, and it washes off with water. It has a soap built into the product. So when you hit it with water, it turns into soap and falls off the car. It's amazing. It is amazing product.
Would that make it so that, because I had this idea for, maybe not an idea, but I had this thought, I guess, that what if you could polish a car, compound, whatever, leave the residue instead of wiping the polished residue, right? So leave the residue and then just take the car outside and wash it with soap.
That's how we do it.
That's how you do it.
Darren and I, when we did that last car, and Darren was blown away by that too. Him and I never really worked together. So it was fun to do a car together. Wool pad the whole car, foam pad the whole car over the residue because there's no cross contamination.
Right.
So you don't lose the time, because with any multi-product system, you have to wash completely.
Right.
Or you're going to get
that's a big point.
It's a huge point. And then, when you have the residue from the DA, which is everywhere on the windows, it's everywhere. Dust, all this stuff. Now you hit it with water, the whole thing turns into soap, and it all falls off the car. It's just spotless when you're done. It's gleaming.
Because so often, at least in detailing, like you'll get towel marring on really soft clears, right? So then people get frustrated of like, man, I just polished out this car and then I wipe off the residue and now I got towel marring, right? And so I had that thought of like, what if you could just wash it off? That would be maybe reduce the chance of towel marring or whatever,
So one of the neat things too, because we're kind of going away from wax. We still have a wax and it works great. Some people love the wax and it works really good. But, on this Beamer, wool pad, DA, wash. And I said, don't dry it. Don't touch it. We at System 1 used to make all the tunnel products for the local car washes. So inside of those products, you have to put drying agent.
Right.
So all of my detail sprays, including Auto Slick, has a drying agent. Leave the standing water, spray it down with Auto Slick. Now when you dry it, the water just evaporates from the surface. So
Got
now
it.
all the water cleans up easy. It wicks up off the surface. There's no chance of water spotting, and your ceramic coating at the exact same time. Super fast.
So if someone's, I think we nailed it. If someone's looking to purchase your products, find out more information, how can find out more information on you, talk to you? How can they get a hold of you? How can they find you and buy the products?
So we're, obviously all over Amazon. We got our own store, very powerful store there, but we have a couple websites. The main website is csishine.com. It's got a lot of tutorials, but it's got all the products up there. And, so yeah, I'd love to have them come in and register. And, from time to time we do discounts in there, and you have to be a subscribed person it doesn't cost anything. So that's kind of the place that we push people on, csishine.com.
Awesome. I'm going to end the recording right here, but I just
Cool.
want to say thank you, Tom, for
Thank
taking
you,
the time
Jimbo.
and dropping all the knowledge. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of that. So thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, buddy.